What's up, Lucky Gamer? Says Lucky Lux, and today we're going to be talking about this handsome man right here, Shamane. We're talking about if you should put him on your account or not, and honestly, I am going to have to be really blunt and honest about this character because our gyms are in a chokehold now, and people have been asking me constantly and consistently, should I get him, should I not, is he a skip, how does he compare to Birdman, you know, in 1.6, so we are going to put everything on the table. We're going to talk about his standing, where he's going to do in 1.3, and then leading into 1.4, and how good he is going to be in 1.6. So let's go ahead and get into it, right? So, Shamane is a really great universal debuffer for reality and mental damage. But I'm gonna be honest. I'm not gonna speak about him in reality damage because there's already Bjorn Bloom, who's literally right here, right? Bjorn Bloom does her damage, does her role very, very well. Honestly, does it a little too well, which is a whole nother conversation, maybe video, but she does it really well, right? Shamane, when it comes to mental defense debuffer, is pretty much the character. Sorry, baby blue, but you have issues in your kit. You've been great, but Shamane is just gonna be better. I just have to be honest. Shamane is gonna be better. He can do pretty much what she does in terms of debuffing in one skill, right? Now, a lot of people talk about, well, what about the damage for Shamane? At P0, he suffers in damage. This is true. He is not a main DPS. He is a debuffer. He does not do as much damage as your portrayed Bjorn Bloom, most likely. This is true. But the character is a debuffer. He is decent when it comes to AoE beast damage. But for him to be a DPS, you will need portraits. You will need to be P2 or higher, honestly, to consider him being a main DPS for you, because even the way that his ult works, the extra crit rate and crit damage only targets the one person that you select, right? It doesn't hit everybody with all of that. So, you know, that is something to know. And with building his resonance, I mean, even if I got it to res 10, his crit rate is pretty low. Even with Cry to the Heart, we're like, you know, I mean, if I even showed you similar crit rate, even with Cry to the Heart, I'm not even going to get over 50%, really. So it's a little hard to get his crit, because somebody asked me, like, hey, at P0, can I get him close to 100%? No, it's not happening. So he is just really not a, I would say, DPS for you, especially in the crit category. Now, another reason why a lot of people are really pressured about this character is because he comes right before this guy. Now, this guy right here, he might look like an NPC. He might look like he's, you know, just design-wise not as important, not as cool. And you're like, is this guy really a 6-star? Yes, 6 is that guy. He has a crazy kit that a lot of people tried to hate on, but he is honestly one of the best supports that you can get. And he is still one of the best supports, because I promise you guys, I did not put these levels together. It just happened to be this way because 6 works really well with one of the strongest characters in the game, right? Who is right next to him, right? And 6 just works with most people. 6 is not the best option to have on the team, but he is a good option to have on the team. He is always the 4th man. He is just solid. And so when it comes to not wanting to summon as many characters, 6 is really good. Now, you could say the same thing for Shamane, right? You could say, well, Shamane is a universal debuffer. So, like, I could also get Shamane and then rock 6 and then be okay for both elements. This is a true thing. This is a very true statement that you could say. But here's the thing. Before Shamane came into the picture, most people already had a Bjorn Bloom and a baby blue. So a lot of people are going to cope with that before they summon a 6-star, especially when they're looking at their gyms and they're looking far into the picture. So I think that's one of the problems for Shamane, right? And I know it sounds like I'm giving a lot of negatives and you're like, okay, well, what's a reason to summon him? So here's a good reason to summon him. Honestly, here's how it lines up again. These 4 right here, when it comes to Black Dwarf, Tooth Fairy, Shamane, and 6, actually functions as a great team. 6 and Shamane pretty much hold up as the mental supports right now, because they are the best mental supports while being able to do it pretty well. 6, without having to use any AP, really, can buff up Black Dwarf. Shamane can help out with the mental defense. Tooth Fairy can help out with everybody with the crit defense and the confusion, right? Very AP. you can make this very AP friendly while focusing on Black Dwarf. Now, some will say, well, Shamane is very AP hungry because he wants to ult. Well, his ult isn't going to do that much for you at P0, so do not worry about it. Just use his debuff and just, you know, use his cards whenever. But, like, I promise you, his damage is not going to impress you at P0 as much. I'm just being really honest. I'm just being really honest, okay? But he is going to be a long-standing mental debuffer for a long time, from 1.3 all the way to 1.6. Still, there's not been a character, which is 126 days, pretty much, that the character, well, it's not exactly 126 days, but for that whole time, the character literally has not been replaced as a mental defense debuffer. So that is a reason to summon him. If you were wanting to get him, that is a reason to summon him, right? So you have that. Now, when it comes to the Beast team, I gotta be honest. Oh, no. Before we do that, Shamane versus Getien. A lot of people are like, does Getien power creep? Because a lot of people like to use that word, power creep. Does he power creep Shamane? No, in no way. Getien is strictly reality. Trying to use him from any other team is silly. It's using the character in his literally not best like team. Getien is strictly for reality damage. So Getien is more of a comparison to Bjorn Bloom than to Shamane, because Shamane is going to be our mental defense debuffer. So this is why I usually typically do not put Shamane in the reality defense category, because it already has characters that are saturated, right? But in mental defense, this man can shine. So the other question is, how does, you know, Shamane work in the Beast team with this girl right here? I'm gonna be honest, and this is gonna hurt. Shamane can fit in a Beast team, but not as much in a reality Beast team, oddly enough, right? When it comes to putting Shamane with Getien and then putting Shamane with Flannel, Flannel and Getien can get their ults very quickly, but they need to cycle their ults consistently. And they are very, very good at it. But, you know, Desert Flannel gives an Incantation Might buff for Beast characters, and Incantation Might doesn't do much for Shamane because he's mostly an ulter, right? But the damage dealt buff that she gives can go well with Getien's damage dealt buff, and then it can help out, right? But having characters like Desert Flannel, Shamane, you know, Getien, and then Centurion, it's just really AP hungry, right? And I don't have Centurion on this account, unfortunately, so, you know, I can't really show it, but Centurion is just very AP, not Centurion. Shamane is very AP hungry and wanting to use his most damaging ability, being his ult, when you need to also cycle a lot of AP to Getien, and then you also need to cycle a lot of AP to Desert Flannel, right? So that's the unfortunate case for Shamane. But with that being said, Shamane does fit into a mental damage team, right? So you can still put Shamane, Desert Flannel, right? Med Pocket, and Melania together. You can still do a Beast team if you want. And Melania's incantations aren't the strongest, but it will still be a decent boost for her. And then you will still get a damage boost from Flannel, right? You can still get a little bit of a damage boost from Med Pocket, and then you can also get the damage boost from Shamane. So it is a Beast team. Is it as strong as the reality team? Well, no, because Getien gives a really, really good buff. But it is something that can work for right now, if that's what you're wanting to do. And again, I wish this, and like, you can kind of tweak the things, like you can do, like, you could make Shamane work, especially if you like put portraits in him, then he would be the DPS, and then you can do Getien and Flannel and, you know, Med Pocket and make it work. But it's just, that's just pretty much just how it is, guys. Like, Shamane doesn't fit into the Beast team very well for how I'm envisioning it for reality damage, unfortunately, right? Unless you want to make him a main DPS, which is a completely different story, honestly. But all in all, when it comes to should you summon Shamane, how do I feel? Look, the character is a long-standing character when it comes to mental defense and being a mental damage support. But other than that, I think just because there's so many good characters coming out for the next patches, I do believe that he is a character that you can maybe pass on and get later on, because I want you guys to have like really solid teams. And just honestly, 6 is just such a good character. I want to make sure that you guys get 6. And I know a lot of you are wanting to get 37 as well. So I'm just going to have to say, just get 6, then save your gems, get Joe, and then we can focus on these 2 characters for now. We'll see what's in 1.7. And remember, you can always get Shamane in 1.6 by losing a pity, which I did, and that's how I got him, right? So that is always a possible option for you. So I hope this didn't disappoint you guys too much, but again, I just had to be really blunt and honest. And if you don't like my take, please let me know down in the comment section. But if you do agree with me and you're just saddened by this fact, also let me know. Like the video if you found this video helpful, and please sub to the channel. We are close to 5K, and I'm getting really excited for the growth of this channel. Please also make sure to click the bell. That way you guys know when I go live, because I like to go live on Reverse 99 and talk about the game, and I'm also starting to play other games too. But anyways, I'm going to go and get out of here. You lucky gamers, have a good one. Lucky Lucks out.